Welcome back everyone. Now I request Mr. Dr. Aravind Yelery to talk about provinces and the state in China, evolution of Chinese political economy. And the discussants will be Professor Buddhil Gogoi, and he looks after marketing department in our institute, and Professor Sharad Bhattacharya. He is into finance. He mostly looks after investment. So I request Dr. Gogoi. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. Easy day. Srinivas had played really good. Today he was a Dravid actually. The last day of the test and he has already eaten up 60 overs out of 90. 30 strikes, 3 tons, best score ever. And so I will play 20-20 to keep it very attractive. To the point. So I have just 8 slides, exclusion and thank you slides, which will be quick because most of these points we have touched upon since last 2 days, 1.5 days. And there is some promising work coming after me. Santosh will come and take some quick shots, 40 to 45 hours to 50 hours. So I think I'll keep short. So I slightly changed the title, so I made it very straightforward, Provinces and Chinese Economy. Usually in India, when we talk about Chinese economy, we generalize, and that is the habit. We make some slogan statements about Chinese economy, China did this, the investment is coming from China, or look at what is happening in this park and some number of other things. But what we miss when we deliberate or argue such things is that there are some grains in Chinese economy which we miss. So when we zoom in, we see the pixelated Chinese economy when we see different stakeholders playing different roles in Chinese economy. And I'm going to talk about the provinces to be very specific. I'm not trying to be, sorry. Well, I thought just why not introduce some basic things. I remember when I was doing post-graduation, I had a very good professor, Professor Vora. And before he started teaching Marx, he would say sarcastically, Marx went to London, I am sure you don't know where he's done. I know, like, he used to believe that, okay, he should start from basics. So I'm not saying that you are ignorant, but I just want to put it in a broad canvas. So Delhi, Shillong and Qingdao is star. I gave a star because you're going to that place and it's you dreaming to go to that place. Well, to give a very brief introduction, there are names, you know most of the names here, I'm sure. So there are 4 municipalities, Beijing, Tianjin, Chongqing and Shanghai, 23 provinces. They include Taiwan as one of the provinces. So get your facts correct. 5 autonomous regions, Guangxi, Inner Mongolia, Ningxia, Tibet and Xinjiang. And 2 special administrative regions, Hong Kong and Macau. So a Chinese can hold sometimes 4 passports, which is not the case in India. To travel to Taiwan is a different passport. To travel to SAR, a different passport. A personal passport. When he joins a company, he wants another passport, it's a business passport. So that is it. I mean, you know, this is not as simple as it is in India. So just to put into perspective, sorry. Now if you look at the Chinese provinces and look at the profiling, I just did a quick profiling over here. If we divide the Chinese provinces in about 5 regions, Northeast, North, sometimes called Northern Plains as well. Then we have South Coast, South Central and West. And all these regions have different role they play a different role as far as the Chinese economy is concerned or Chinese economic growth is concerned. Obviously, the south coast is leading. After that, the northern plains, and then somewhere about the south central pitching, then northeast, and then the west. So this is what you look at China from different perspectives. You are aware about the south coast or mostly not because you travel, because that is the place most accessible for foreigners to go and reach easily, as far as China is concerned. Now, a little bit different over here, Chinese provinces. If you look at the economic profiling, it is like this. As far as start from northeast. Northeast is the highest endowment of cropland per capita, important region for soybean and corn production, and important center of state-owned heavy industries. So it plays important role as far as the heavy industries are concerned, or the crop production in one or two segments are concerned. As far as north is concerned, the plains. It's the site of Yellow River most affected by water scarcity, and this was the place actually in history, Chinese history, attempted to do the river linking projects or linking different river basins to get rid of this water scarcity. Heavily populated, but obviously northeast is not the place where Chinese prefer to stay, so obviously they came down a little bit in the plains, and that was the area predominantly was heavily populated. Again, the northern plains consist about one present capital Beijing and one former capital Xi'an. So you would understand that historically that has been a place very predominant in Chinese economic development. Talk about south coast, rapid economic growth and high incomes. Again, they have a scarcity of land and relatively high demand for food imports. Most of the rich people or those who have the new billionaires in China, in top Forbes or those lists, prefer to invest, move their money, invest in their money, play with the money in this area. South Central is a site of Yangtze, Sangqiang River, poor and heavily populated, important region for production of rice and pork over here. Now, if you see South Central region consists about China's more than 70% of fertile land where the agriculture takes place. And it is a region very vibrant as far as the ethnic population is concerned. West, largely arid climate and largely minority populated area, important cotton production area, Xinjiang. So that is economic profiling, and I think this has been slightly touched by Srinivas in the morning. He was talking about clusters. I mean, every place I have mentioned over here have their own specialty, but due to short of space, I haven't mentioned it. Just look at some of them: Nanjing, Yangzhou, Suzhou, Shanghai, Hangzhou. They have all different characteristics. I think this will be a little bit repetition if I go on explaining, which Srinivas has done. Let's go to the next slide. Now, what is happening over here? That traditionally we believe that if you want to go to Shanghai, you want to go to Nanjing, you should be more about investment companies, IT companies, or if you want to go to Tianjin, where there's heavy industries are taking place. If you want to go to Henan, Zhengzhou, Mengzhou, you have to have the heavy industries. But that is not a case anymore, because what is happening since last 10 to 15 years, the clusters are breaking down, they're shifting. Why this is shifting? Because of the wages are going up, and most of the provinces are introducing different tax regimes as far as the local companies are concerned. So a lot of declustering is happening. The industries are moving out of the clusters. For example, Foshan, everybody knows, is for ceramic. But what is happening? The high-end ceramic industry is still concentrated in Foshan, which is exporting, but low-end ceramic industry is moving out. When I say low-end ceramic industry, it is again very labor intensive. So it is moving out of Foshan. Now, how it is happening? I have taken 4 cases to be very specific, and this is out of the research which I have done, and where I belong to, the earlier company. Okay, textile and steel. I don't know whether we can read out. If you look at the map on the left, the two provinces marked, with the yellow, orange. That is, one is Jiangsu and second is Zhejiang, where dominated the textile industry. But that is not the case anymore. The textile industry is moving out of Jiangsu, moving out of Zhejiang, and going to Tianjin, Jimo, Shijiazhuang, and to Zhumadian. So you have to understand this, that the traditional clusters are breaking out. They are going to different places. So you want to make investment, you want to do trading, you want to help the company. As a consultant, you need to keep your eyes open and research ready. You need to travel, which is very important, and understand that where they are shifting. Now, as far as steel is concerned, if you look at the Changzhou and Jiangsu, that remained a cluster, mainly for steel industry. But that Changzhou and Shunta, those capital letters, that remained, like the dominant part where the steel industry flourished in China. That is moving out of it, going to Nanning, Nantong, and Hangshui. Nantong in China is famous for shipbuilding. Taichu and Nantong, these are the two places most of the shipbuilding takes place. So this is what is happening. So provinces are competing to get more industries. They're giving more preferences to those companies who are coming from different provinces. So the provinces are fighting to get the companies, so why they can control the unemployment, so why they can get the more industry where they did not consider earlier, industry which would help them to get more revenue, and that are the basic reasons actually these things are happening. Going forward, two more industries, glassware and tableware, ceramic tableware. As far as glassware is concerned, if you see, it's Anhui, Jiangsu and Zhejiang remain very dominant clusters in this industry. But that is again moving to Jimo, that is moving to Suzhou. So that is, disintegration is taking place in that case as well. Ceramic and tableware, a lot of things are happening. When I started talking to you a few minutes back, I started to talk about Foshan. Now this is a tableware ceramic companies which are very flexible nowadays. They're ready to move in 2 years business, they're ready to move to different provinces, and that is changing the complete dynamics of labor, complete internal dynamics of investments. So these are the 4 cases which I elaborated, which will give you an idea. Just don't go by traditional textbook knowledge of Chinese economy. Do some realistic studies, ground studies, before you start your businesses. Well, I'm not talking about, these are all labor-intensive industries. So your information is, realistic information based on facts is very important. So homework is important. You cannot simply go and say, okay, this is a cluster, let's go and take the buyers and do this thing. That doesn't really work. That is not the standard way. It's a completely wrong way now. This has proven. Now, I will talk about 3 cases over here where I think that the changing dynamics of provinces can, if you understand very well, can be helpful for the Indian industries. The first is about the mineral products. As I said, mineral products, the mineral products I just mentioned about steel to be very specific. If you talk about broadly, I spoke about Shunta and Changzhou, they're moving out. What is happening over here, India's export to China constitute about 24%. This is again fallen from 2007 because of the recent regulations from the Chinese government. But that is one area actually we need to compensate. Why I say mineral products? Because the Chinese have a good, huge amounts of heavy metal reservoirs. So there is already talk about the exporters and traders. Why don't we swap actually? We provide you the mineral products, and why don't you just supply us the heavy earth materials over here? The principal export is iron ore. Interprovincial contest for clustering, rise in demand. Jiangsu and Zhejiang, if you get an opportunity, if you travel from Jiangsu, Nanjing to Shanghai and come down below, don't travel to Yiwu or something like that, just come to the borderland. On the border of Shanghai and Zhejiang, you would see that the new clusters are happening, taking place. Most of them are steels, pipes, and they are. You would find it just by entering into the highway. It is very much visible over there. So provinces and cities are fighting for that. One example is this fight or this competition is also reflected in building infrastructure. I'll take the famous example of the Ningbo Bridge. The bridge which connects Shanghai to Ningbo. It's about 20 plus kilometers. Initially, Zhejiang government proposed Shanghai municipality that why don't we construct this thing together? And then Shanghai said, okay, fantastic, this is a good idea, let's join. So the starting point was Zhejiang's border, and the other point of the bridge was outskirts of Shanghai. After heavy deliberations and discussions among the two municipalities and the local government, Shanghai thought that if this happens, most of the container business or the logistic business is going to Ningbo, which is the deep sea port. So Shanghai said, sorry, we are not going to be part of this. So they said, no, we are not going to be part of this. Zhejiang very smartly, they constructed the bridge just 10 kilometers away, just before the Shanghai municipality borders. The bridge is doing fantastic. It took away Shanghai port's business. It took away some prominent businesses from prominent port businesses from Jiangsu ports. So this is what is happening actually. The provinces are fighting. This is nowhere else mentioned. So as young managers, you need to keep this thing in mind. The provinces are fighting, and you need to see where there is. You need to look for areas which are very nice and plum areas where you can pitch in and take benefit of. Textile again I mentioned, and India had till last year, because now China has put some kind of cap over cotton imports. So now that is not the best place Chinese or Indian traders are trading in. But yes, this is one of the promising areas actually. If Chinese want to really dominate anything or any sector in Asia Pacific or anything in regional economic integration, textile is the good area. But in textile, salaries are increasing. It is increasing geometrically. Forget about mathematics. It's huge. So that is the reason actually we are the best solution. India is the best solution for as far as China is concerned. And internal diversification of sourcing, provinces led clustering, annual average growth in salaries by 20%. This is based on the data which is provided by the Shanghai municipality as well as the municipality in Zhejiang. It is based on facts. So what is happening is the annual growth in salaries is somewhere about 20%, which is huge. And the Chinese companies are not really affording this thing. Hard surfaces, scrapping of cotton stockpiling, as I said, it is no more a good business for Indian traders or those who are looking to trade with China, because there is some. This happened in March this year. They put certain cap on buying cottons and stockpiling. So, but there are areas where India is the good alternative for China, because if now put it into larger context, Vietnam is trying to take away China's textile market because of its cheap labor and its appeal to the TPP member countries and so on and so forth. So China is looking at India, where if India can help them. Case 3, the agricultural products. Come to the last point straight away. I don't think the first 3 things are mentioned. China imports live plants, cashew nuts, mango, fresh and fried grapes, wheat, rice, coconut, oil and raw sugar from other countries, which we have in abundance. The last point, China the largest importer of rice and India the largest exporter of rice, but there is no direct trading as far as rice is concerned. So there are areas which we haven't explored, and these are few areas for which China would come and would request or would try to look at India as a part of their larger game plan, where they want to develop their Indian market, and they want to just try to multiply their opportunities in India. That's it, I have to say. And as I said, this is very quick, 8 slides. And you can just let me know if I can give you some more points. Any questions on this? Sir?
Can I say something which it supplements what you said, or brings out some points that which brings out some points which are a little outside the presentation you made. All the things you said about the provinces and the sectors and the areas and the cities which are important for Indian businessmen, absolutely on target and very, very pertinent. But perhaps from an IIM's point of view and from a more general point of view, there is another dimension to the activities of provinces that also calls for attention. And that is to say, the way in which Chinese provinces act as promoters of China's economic interests. This is interesting for several reasons. One is, while many countries have provincial entities that engage in marketing, Germany does this, the United States do this episodically, depending on their own interest and dynamism and leadership at the state level. Mexico does this, Brazil does this, and maybe there are a few other countries that I have overlooked mentioning. India does it in an extremely limited way, and there is much that we can learn from the Chinese example. And in fact, the Modi government is a very fast learner and is already doing this. I don't know.
Vibrant Gujarat.
No, vibrant Gujarat and all is fine. That is in, while only Gujarat, Maharashtra, UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, all these states have done, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, of course. But I'm talking of active external marketing. For the first time, the government of India sent a delegation to China, which was led by a chief minister of a state. This was a national delegation led by a chief minister. So that's good. But what the Chinese do is that provinces actively engage internationally in order to promote Chinese interests. Of course, they are looking at provincial interests, but this is part of a grand scheme, and it is, in a sense, also coordinated from Beijing. This is worth knowing. Now, from the IIM's point of view, I have not fully understood the extent to which IIM receives the support of the Shandong province authorities. You have connections with Ocean University. Would somebody tell me, are there good connections with the Shandong province authorities?
Yes.
There are. Okay, wonderful. Then the second question that arises is, would it be feasible for IIM Shillong, and this applies to any institution in India really, which is engaged, which is interested in China, to think of finding a second provincial partner, in a sense, to spur a little bit of competition. And I would recommend to you that a partner of choice could easily be Yunnan or Sichuan. Both these provinces are located in the southwest. Maybe Sichuan is a better choice because Yunnan is the obvious choice. Sichuan is the second choice because Sichuan is also very interested in connecting with India, and I don't think very many Indian entities have reached out to them. The way to do it is to tell these provinces, the provinces that you are not connected with, that you are in the northeast, you are interested in China, and that you have a captive collection of participants in your courses, diploma and maybe even your main MBA course, who are available for exchanges, for student exchanges, or reciprocal exchanges, which is not happening right now. This is one way of doing it because this gives an edge to our economic marketing. Because what you're doing is wonderful, and I greatly applaud it. But it should also be seen in terms of a larger national Indian objective. Last point. Nobody has mentioned, and very few people have taken notice of the fact that this government we have in power today has very innovatively set up a Chinese province to Indian state level mechanism, which held its first meeting in Beijing while Shri Modi was in Beijing, and the idea is that there will be annual exchanges between delegations of Indian states and Chinese provinces. As far as I know, this is the first time that any country anywhere in the world has taken sub-state diplomacy, this is what it is called, has taken sub-state diplomacy to a bilateral level, saying, let us exchange experiences between your provinces and our states and see what we can learn from one another. This is something that's worth plugging into. I hope what I mentioned in a way supplements your.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to add two more examples. That will give you the clear picture. That's what Rana said. Take two cities. Don't take two provinces who, usually provinces in China are equivalent to states in India. The provinces would
But
come.
for the big cities.
Yeah, that's right. So they would come, they will have MOUs. But to your surprise, there are two city delegations from China who came, where one is from Wanzhou city and one is from Liuzhou city. The city administration had MOUs with states, Wanzhou with Maharashtra and Liuzhou with MP. This is phenomenal. You look at what level the cooperation or interaction is taking place from Chinese side. They don't wait for the provincial leaders to take the lead. They don't have time. The internationalization or the urge is from city level, county, prefecture, city. So cities, the delegations are coming and signing agreements. They would come and sign agreements in 3-4, and that is not just the agreements actually. It is just the start. They take the agreement back and tell the industry, see, now we have the agreement, why don't you go? So look at the level of engagement. Indian states signing agreement with Chinese cities, and you look at it from the Chinese perspective. For them, it doesn't matter. Provinces, cities are okay, but look at the aggression at which they're doing the.
To add to your
marketing.
point,
Yeah.
I read a McKinsey report recently where they've actually moved away from looking at provinces. They only look at city clusters. And they're basically saying that there are 23 or 43, whatever, city clusters in China, which comprises tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, because they believe that, obviously, as we know, with the high level of urbanization that's happening, that the entire province is irrelevant for business. So you need to look at city clusters, and they're trying to do the same thing with India. They're saying we look at Ahmedabad, we don't need to look at the rest of Gujarat or Ahmedabad, Surat, and a couple of other places. So that's the city concept is gaining traction within the business community.
Yes.
So maybe city tie-ups would make more sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, just two questions. First one is in terms of the nature of decision making, systemic decision making. What it appears is that they follow a bottom-up approach. Is this character of character of decision making which exists at the national level,
Mhm.
is this also projected in the Chinese companies or the work organizations?
Okay.
That decision making is actually bottom up and not top down, because as we see, national culture, context, that whatever we may be, the truth is any company which operates out of India picks up on a characteristics where the decision making always is top down. We not even in planning, we don't seem to display that. That's one. Second is, Sanjeev would be able to help me with some data on this. But Northeast, if we were to, pursue what Sir has said, saying that okay, if we reach out to our states, we are mandated to cater to the northeastern states and get into some negotiation, some agreement with them. Okay, we take them to China, at least to the province where we are located. We have a partner university or any new.
Right.
Truth is, northeast as a region is very different. We can't have large-scale manufacturing units. Those technologies of mass production cannot be employed here, and there is some kind of an understanding saying that please don't bring them here,
Okay.
because we want to ensure that the community does not lose on its culture, language, and of course ecology.
Knowledge industry.
Okay, so would there be any interested, some kind of cluster analysis of that, which would be those clusters which may be interested in investing in the Northeast?
Okay. The last one, I think animal products is the best thing. I mean, the Northeast lacks about the supply chain, whole supply chain. Northeast is very rich, as well as I took the last case, the primary products. But the Northeast doesn't have enough cold storage facilities, and this is published data actually. This is published you can find this in Northeastern Trade Council. They have published the data, how much they lack and how much is wasted actually. That is probably one area. An answer to your first question, what is the level of coherence as far as decision making is concerned? I would answer it in two different ways. One, there is certainly a disjoint what Beijing thinks and what provinces are doing. In terms of policy coherence, but if you look at in terms of achievements, the line of thinking is same. Let me give some examples over here. Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, when he came to India last year, September, he announced 20+ billion investment coming to India over next 5 years. That is his decision. But he failed to convince Chinese companies to implement it. Most of the Chinese private companies, if you look at the full profile as such, I mean, a little bit divergent. Top 500 Fortune companies in China, 263 or 65 are state-owned, and rest of them are private companies. The state-owned enterprises are taking the internationalization laid down by Beijing government very, very aggressively. But they cannot go into every other areas where the private companies come and fill it. My point here is that the private companies have a completely different trajectory than state-owned enterprises, because the state-owned enterprises follows what the government thinks. And look at the SASAC listed company, the centrally listed state-owned enterprises, about 117, and they have about 130,000 subsidiaries in China. Obviously, they will do what the Beijing is saying. But this is not exactly right with the private companies. Private companies would not listen to President Xi Jinping because they have a different trajectory altogether. Coming to the second part of your question, and my answer is that now how they are aligned there. If there is a disjoint, how they are aligned? I mean, they're thinking. I mean, when they dream about minting money. So the case is this: the Central Committee gives orders to MOFCOM. MOFCOM has CCPIT, China Council for Trade and Promotion of International Trade, something, CCPIT. The CCPIT is an umbrella organization, and the CCPIT has branches in all the provinces. CCPIT, Sichuan, Zhejiang, CCPIT, Shandong, Tianjin, CCPIT, Shanghai, even municipalities has. So all these CCPITs work in coherence. MOFCOM will not necessarily intervene in this thing. MOFCOM is at different level actually, delegating the policies, not ordering what should be done. CCPIT is all about how we execute it at the execution level. Now you would wonder, okay, who are these people in CCPIT? CCPIT comprises of 3 and 4 different categories of people. CCPIT are the large businesses, business houses, they are the part of it. Then you have the small industries, small medium enterprises, they have the representation in that. There is a political representation in that. So obviously it is something like that. It's a mechanism where they make sure that the train won't derail. It runs fast, about 300 kilometers per hour, but it is not derail, and then every mechanism works in coherence. So that's how it happens. So you won't see there is a political incoherence in that, but economic coherence is very much there. So I mean, this is how the system works in China. Provinces perform. Every province has a different, Jiangsu for example. Jiangsu went crazy behind IT industry. Then Guangxi is picking up, Henan is picking up suddenly. And yesterday about, you mentioned, I think, about the IT industry, how that is booming about, if you look at its share in China GDP, somewhere around 50+% services. So every province is thinking, every province has a different trajectory. In India, my experience, we don't have a trajectory. Investors means if investment is coming, okay, it's something like in the next morning we open the door, flights are coming and things are coming, okay, let it come, we take the investment. But there is no trajectory, there is no planning, which in China the provinces have. Even the cities have the small bodies where they decide, okay, now this is the industry we should catch. And they are crazy. I mean, they would catch, as Santosh was saying yesterday, every Indian is being thought of IT. I will just bump into every other Chinese would think that, my God, this Windows is not working. Arun, can you fix it? I said, sorry, I'm not an IT guy. But you're from India. I said, yes, that's right. But doesn't mean that I'm an IT person. So, yeah, that is how the coherence is maintained in political, economic policy making.
Sir,
Please.
Sir, actually, Northeast has direct contact with Chinese border. So, do you see any increase in trade activities through directly through land, like Arunachal Pradesh's border? So, do you see any trade activities taking place?
See, the problem is there is a lot of trading is taking place. Informal trading is taking place across the border. The main challenge is how do you formalize that. That is the main challenge. That should be the main point on the government's agenda. It's not about how to increase it. You don't need to increase it. It exists. Everybody knows it exists. And if you're not going to legalize it, if you're not going to formalize it, create structures, or give them some kind of independence, it will keep on multiplying. So it's all about there are opportunities, there is a trade happening. So it's just a case of how we legalize it in a structured way. Jupiter. Your name is very famous.
Yesterday you mentioned that China's consumption, it will be means like saturated, or it will be means going in same, which is not, will not be increasing like the visit of present. Or whereas if one has to do business, then we have to provide in that services regarding that. So sir, is it possible to create demand, like suppose in market, suppose there is burgers, then pizza also I can do, so that different tastes, so that there will be different taste. So
Very hypothetical question. So I have to answer taking precautions. See, this is very hypothetical question. Can you create a portion? Obviously, yes. You cannot say no. Market is next to you. I mean, you can create opportunities. But I don't understand, and I didn't get the question, or maybe what you wanted to say, that if the consumption is not going up, can you create opportunities? Obviously, you can create opportunities. When the consumption was low, Alibaba created opportunities. Most of the companies created opportunities. It is not about the consumption is low, you cannot have opportunities. I mean, that is not the real way of calculating or making calculations. So I think still, even if the consumption is low, you would be surprised to know that Chinese are getting, higher middle class Chinese are getting more crazy about Indian products. but we don't know how to market it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I mean, the Chinese higher middle class group, income class group, is getting more crazy about Indian products.
What Indian products?
Indian products, handicraft products. Handicraft means it's not about wood, all about the soaps, Ayurveda based products, herbal based products. We don't know how to market it. I have seen, I mean, it's a little bit deviation from what my topic is. I had been informal consultant to a lot of SMEs actually, who are selling soap and what kesh, tail and all 100 things. They would come and say, I mean, this is happening and what to do, because the same product, the Margo is selling the product, or this Mysore Sandal is selling the product, but selling it high cost about 20-25 RMB, and they want to sell the product about 20 RMB. CIF prices, but nobody is ready to accept it, and they don't know how to do it, because it's all about you need to do a good marketing. There are a lot of chances. Do you know that Indian incense stick makers import sticks from Vietnam? Do you know that? Right from Cycle brand to everyone, and selling it in Indian market. Well, this is the whole global supply chain is changing, and we need to learn where to hit. If you don't know, it's something like, game in the dark. We are every day will lose chances. So you happily, in your that divine place, you put the agarbatti, but you don't know actually the stick is coming from Vietnam, the sense is coming somewhere from China, and it is just manufactured over here. Well, I mean, I don't say that in total Chinese have invented their own way of dealing with the supply chain. Somewhere Europeans and Americans are also responsible. And as far as we talked about infringement of intellectual property rights, I met about a dozen of European companies saying that my competitor is selling this. Can you just get exact copy and give me cheaper rates? Being a consultant to Chinese company, I said yes. So I did that. I did those actually since. That is what I'm saying. Most of the IPR infringement, don't think that the Chinese are doing it out of their choice. It is imposed. Chinese would come and buy a mug for about 30 cents and will sell the same thing in US, go to Amazon, somewhere about 8 to 9 US.
I just want to tie up
Yes, Sanjay.
Rohit's question and the question from Jupiter
Yeah.
and a question from another student regarding land borders. What happens is demand can be created. I was just going through some statistics yesterday, and I am unable to quote the source, is that cancer levels in China is galloping at a rate that the rest of the world will find it very difficult to cope up with. And that's possibly due to the contamination in the food chain, relentless use of pesticides and insecticides. Now, there is a market, because there's a huge middle class and upper middle class that would want organic food products, and we have a land border with China. So if organic food, which the Northeast is supposed to be doing in the next 10 years, that's what the government is planning to do, there could be an immediate market and the demand would just be created. So if you are looking at only areas that are the manufacturing, I think we are missing a lot of other areas that has a potential for growth, and I think we need to look at that. Thank you.
Most of the green products in China are sold by Koreans and Japanese. I'm sure when Santosh was in Beijing, he must have gone to a Japanese store to buy vegetables, because they claim that it's a lead-free and things like that. So there is huge potential if you sell or export products from Northeast to China, saying that these are lead-free or less polluted. They will definitely buy it. And look at the capacity, purchasing capacity of the Chinese. They will definitely buy it actually.
Sir, in India, making India plan, one of the sector is the spirituality, a spiritual market.
Hospitality.
spiritual.
Okay, spiritual.
So, in China means where they are standing, does the India see as a potential market to the China in that sector?
Spirituality and market, I didn't connect it actually.
Yeah.
Tourism. India is a big market. I mean, this year is India tourism year for India China actually. But how many? There is certainly a growth in tourist numbers compared to last year. The data is from Chinese embassy. The tourist numbers have grown by 20%, but it is too less. It is too less actually. It has to be somewhere about 200%. And I gave the reason in one of my comments in the morning. We don't have the right kind of setup to monetize Chinese tourists. Chinese tourists need about 3 and 4 basic things. They need the direct connectivity. When they come to Delhi, they need a direct connectivity to Varanasi, Sarnath, or maybe to Bodh, which we don't have. We don't have buses and trains. If we have trains, they don't want to take those trains. Then Chinese food is an important thing. And third important thing is the language. If you have a set of bunch of interpreters, well trained, ICC is requesting a number of ministries and a number of stakeholders to start this thing. We have initiated on all. Then they connect different stakeholders. These are 3 important things they need. In one of our interactions, the ITDC reps told us, you want 200 Volvos, we will give. You need 2 special trains, we will give. I said, thank you, but do it please. But again, the important question is, you have to make it a case study. It is happening till in this year. Why don't you take a group of students can take this thing, do a case study and just throw it to the ministry section. This is the best industry India can do. There is a very, very less investment in this.
These apex business bodies like FICCI and CII and others, how advanced they are about understanding the Chinese market?
They work, but I think they are the failed examples. Santosh would touch base on this thing. Because I'll give you one example from my side, and maybe I request Santosh to take that up later. In India is the country which levies large amount of anti-dumping duties on Chinese products. This is okay till December 22nd of 2016. December 22nd, 2016, China is automatically entitled to get the market economic status in WTO. Now you would say that what is this? This will help China to lengthen the negotiation process, and this will help China to lessen the number of anti-dumping duties levied on Chinese products from 120 to 50, 40, 30. FICCI is not aware of this. CIA is not aware of this. So when ISIS went and said that we want to do some projects on this thing, really this is happening? 2016? I said yes, 2016 is happening. So that is the level of ignorance which we have, and we are happy in that ignorance. We're really happy. CIA and FICCI is really happy doing that actually.
Is it because we are still Eurocentric in a sense?
It's not Eurocentric, it's all about self-centric. You say, why put the blame on somebody else? It's also self-centric, happy with saying that. Because see, Indians, we start argument with a conclusion. We have a conclusion somewhere in our left pocket, and we still keep on arguing, and we say, I had this. So this is a problem, and this is a problem as well dealing with China is also concerned. Sorry to be very critical, but Santosh will have more things.
Do I have that much time?
Okay, any more questions? Yes, Jupiter again?
No, quickly listen to the
Discuss.
Okay.
Patiently
Jupiter we can
discuss it
during
please.
lunch. Yes.
Good afternoon, one and all. I am Vidyut Jyoti Gugul, one of the discussants. I would like to add something which Dr. Aravind had just discussed. This is with reference to the retail industry. If we see, we had discussed about the case of Walmart. So in China, the full what's called foreign direct investment in multi-retail, they increased to 29% in 1992. Walmart entered in 1998. Okay, and after that, Again, it was increased to 49% in 2002. So it's almost quite a gap. And in 2004, it was increased to 100%. Okay. So between these years, we saw a lot of failures. They started with the super centers. They came with the format which they had in US, full discount, everyday low prices. But in fact, we get products which are probably manufactured in China, which are cheaper, and we think that is their culture. Whereas the case is quite the opposite. In fact, they prefer to buy quality products. Okay, so with the time, we see that during this time duration, they changed their format. Okay, some of the big farmers, they are closing down, they are increasing the product line to upscale with the upscale products. Okay, and now we see small formats which are coming up, which are basically storing some of the quality products which are for the upscale customers, which are preferred by the Chinese consumers. Now, coming back, there is a scale which is known as GRDI, which is 80 Keynes Global Retail Development Index. In that, we have 4 parameters. One is country risk. First one is country risk and business risk. Country risk says this: what is the political scenario in the particular country? Business risk talks about the corruption risks which are there and the business risk which is there. Second is what is the market saturation rate? Is it high or low? Third one is the market attractiveness. How attractive is the market? And the fourth one is what is the time pressure? So if we see the time pressure is not that high in case of China, is in the late growth stage, but still we have time. Attractiveness is very high, whereas the case of business is a closed system, and if we compare with India, we see that is much closed than that of India. Now coming back to they give this report every year. Coming back, we see in 2005, 6, 7, India occupied the first position. It was the first position. It occupied the first position for 3 consecutive years, and now it has gone down to 14th position. Whereas in case of China, from 2010 they have been occupying the first position. So this attractiveness index usually attracts the retailers to come and set up their unit in a particular country. So in a closed system, wherein we see Xi Jinping, who has taken over from 2013, in spite of being a closed economy, they have been working behind the scenes. They have been increasing the international relationships, and they are increasing the business relationship, which is the fact which we can see. In spite of being a closed economy, it's still doing good business, and companies, MNCs are willing to set up the retail outlet there in India. Okay, so this is one thing which I wanted to add. And coming back to the questions, like first question is the border issues, which we see usually with the what's called, this is the southern, which part? Which Arunachal Pradesh and the border. So what do you think about those things? Is it really going to have an impact on the business, or are they thinking about those issues which will have an impact on the business scenario?
That's not a question. It won't have any effect actually. Chinese businesses, even Indian businesses have become very mature now. They don't want to risk their businesses actually. It has changed completely. Obviously, the political intensity, I respect that actually. There is confrontation, or there are disagreements or political disagreements over those issues. But I don't think there are any economic disagreements over that. I think that is my short answer. To add one more point to the retail business, I would like to say one thing. In China, retail business is very predatory. The Chinese don't understand still one thing over here. There is a certain clause for shelf life or shelf exposure. They call it shelf exposure for the Chinese SMEs. You go to Carrefour. Carrefour has about more than 300 outlets in China. The shelf, you visit after 1 week, the brand will be changed completely. So the retailers have a very predatory scheme in China. They don't have any long-term association apart from the big businesses over there. And if you look at who are selling, and the consumers, the Chinese middle-class consumer, they're buying the brands. They're buying the middle-level brands actually. They're not high-level brands unless you go to IKEA or Metro, the big things. So what is happening here? The retailers have not achieved a level of maturity which I would expect, because they have a lot of supplies. The SMEs, they are struggling. Their exports are going down. So they're going to pay anything for the shelf. And Carrefour, including Walmart, Carrefour, they don't have. Because one of the shareholder in our company which I worked with, he's come from Breton International, which is one of the South French CII, and they said this is the business. We don't care. So the retail business in China has a lot to do. If it is looking for the consumption, if you want to increase the consumption within China, and it is still in that mode of going. It's onslaught, making money, but not about sustainability. So even I am thinking that Carrefour would close down some of its stores. It would come down more than, they have 350, they will come down to 270, 60.
If I can add to that,
Yes.
it's not just China.
Yeah.
Globally,
Yeah.
modern trade is paid to display your product.
That's right. That's right.
It's everywhere.
That's right.
So that is the business of modern trade.
Yes.
And organizations, depending on their marketing budgets, will pay to have frontage.
That's right.
So it's not unique to China.
Yeah.
What Carrefour or Walmart are doing is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Point one. Point two, the promotions are by and large also subsidized by the manufacturer. It's not entirely borne by the trade.
That's right.
The trade can't afford
Yes.
on its, in FMCG particularly, the margins are so narrow, the trade cannot afford the kind of promotions that we see. So it is entirely a joint business between the
That's right.
manufacturer and
That's right.
in terms of the question of whether the demand will grow or not, I don't think it's the trade's responsibility to grow demand. All right? I think it's the manufacturer's responsibility to see how they can stimulate consumer demand for their products. The trade is just a channel. What is also happening with modern trade, it's happening in China, it's happening here as well. If you go to the Metro shop, the really large format, Metro is an outlet where they have an outlet in Calcutta, they have it in other parts of the country as well. A lot of the purchase is by smaller trade. It's not by consumers. In fact, in order to buy from Metro Cash and Carry, you have to have a business license. Now, a lot of us, people who are consultants and have a business, they don't specify what kind of business license. So a lot of consumers who have a consultancy, for example, will have a business license and go and buy at the cheap price. But basically, the cash and carries are intended for traders to buy and go and sell.
Yes.
Because the margins, that they can make out of that is cheaper. So to tie it all up together, I think the point that you were making, which is that Walmart has changed its format, is absolutely right. We were discussing this from yesterday. And the general consensus is that in emerging markets, the American model of large formats is not working, right? I think what happened was that into Asia, or in Latin America, when they went in, it worked because the houses were larger. In India, they first came into Philippines, right? So in Philippines, again, land is not as expensive as it is in the rest of Asia. So people have larger houses, relatively. I mean, most people working in corporate would have a house, like a villa. Nobody in Bombay has a villa. Corporate executives. So just to give a perspective. So the format worked, and the assumption was that it would work in the rest of Asia, which is not the case. So they've learned from that, and they are now coming in with formats that probably will be more suitable. Luxury products or upper, a lot has been talked about the upper end products. Upper end products, frankly, don't sell through supermarkets and hypermarkets because that by definition devalues them. They either sell through what is called a shop and shop outlet, where you have a large store where there'll be counters for different brands, or they sell when they have sizable business, they sell for their exclusive outlets, which are only for their brand. So the category of products we're talking about, and the category of retail outlet that matches with it, and its role is actually quite a large and complex subject. I don't think we can generalize and simplify it.
My second question is,
you gave a comment on political understanding how we need to enter China. So you told one specific statement that there are some ground realities which has to be understood before you enter for a business or either through a company. So can you
better explain it in the morning itself.
Okay.
What's the question?
I thought, what are the ground realities which we should take into account if we have to enter as a business entity or a particular, or maybe our students they want to enter some corporates in China? What are basically the three basic ground realities which will help our students?
Basically, data which says that what are you planning to do, what includes basically what it means to the province in terms of opportunities, what kind of investments are you planning to make, are you planning to build a lab there, are you planning to invest in some core R&D, are you planning to bring some people so that the knowledge can be dispensed to across multiple companies. What is the objective? Is it to do products? Is it to do services? Is it to do system integration? Is it solutioning? The capital you're bringing in. So that I think if you have this whole business plan, then I think it becomes a relatively easy thing for you to actually say that this is what you're doing. And today I think in the market there are a lot of analysts and consultants who can give you a lot of more credible data to say that apart from this, these are the other things that you need to do.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
I just had one question.
Yes.
Because there are so many provinces and in 1990s China was basically poor society. Today it has grown substantially. I saw just one data that 17% of the population had houses in 90. In 2005 if we say it's almost 90%, so growth is phenomenal. And with a reasonably short period. So essentially high growth rate leads to disparity. Essentially there will be disparities across provinces. Now, since you have been engaged with SMEs always had a problem with financing. Where from they get financing? And China historically had been excellent place where informal financing has played a very good role.
Yes.
So are those shadow banking activities very prevalent across the provinces? As the so-called the pawn shops are in new avatars today?
Yes.
And my last question is actually that is the question.
Yes.
Does the investment flows in provinces has got any link with the shadow banking prevalent in those provinces?
Okay, very good question. The first question was about the SMEs and the way they started. The recently very good book, Nicholas Lardy, which I reviewed for China Report, Markets Over Mao, where he comes up with the data. Now the data for the resources or capital available for private enterprises in 70s, 80s has been made available by National Bureau of Statistics. It is available in open domain. You can access it. Very interestingly, the shadow banking did not exist in 70s and 80s. It was this accumulated capital which was used by the SMEs to rise, 80s specifically. And understand all the three models in China SME, they have three different models actually. One is a Gongzhou model, one is Wanzhou model, one is Beijing model, Tianjin model. Especially the successful model was Wanzhou model. They are not literate people. They all were illiterate, they were farmers. What they did, they came together, 3, 4, 5 of them, and then they started doing businesses. That is how they sustained, based on the accumulated capital. Vice versa, the state-owned enterprises were heavily funded by the state. They did not have any problem as far as capital was concerned, resources were concerned. Now coming down to the lane about late 90s and early 2000s, what happened? 1994, famous Shillong reforms, fiscal decentralization. Before that, in early 1980s, Beijing said, give me about 30% of your revenue. We don't care what you do with the 70%. That was a catalyst for privatization. That was a catalyst for the Chinese economy. Gongzhou was the I mean, it was the Usain Bolt, he was running fast, earning and filling his pockets. 1993-94, so don't you suddenly understand, man, this is something, this is not what I expect or what the Communist Party expects. Only few provinces are getting rich, and we're getting only 30%, so he reversed it. He said, no matter what you do, give us 70%, keep 30% with you. That is the problem. It generated problem from there. So, the accumulated capital of provinces started shrinking. So, from where to get the funds? Provinces were smart. They are the predators again, right? They had land. If they didn't have revenue, they had land. So they started giving lands, building properties, so property bubble. Now what happened after a certain time, I mean, property is not something where the provinces would bank on for the industries, because there is a saturation level. Then somewhere in between that, 2003, 4, 5, these LGFVs, local government financial vehicles, started coming into the picture. It's all about the shadow banking because the board had political heavyweights. They would say that we're constructing this for the province, why don't you lend us money? The bank would, the LGFVs would lend money, but that is only about virtual money. Virtual money in the sense, they have about 5 different agencies, outsourced agencies. They would tell, in state only, give them about 100 tons of cement, 100 tons of cement, and they would do that actually. So this is, like a scheme where there is no capital as such. So this kept on multiplying, and this still exists. And now the biggest play, so-called Las Vegas of this shadow banking in China is nowhere else but in Wuhan. It's a city of lots of things are happening. It is building, a lot of infrastructure is going in, a lot of LGFVs are involved in this thing. And they're planning for 2025 places, cities, colonies where there is nobody going to stay. And the infrastructure. So this is not visible across the provinces. This is visible somewhere about the 2-tier provincial and coastal provinces. I mean, this is available, now it is not in the south coast, but this is in the north. This is happening. And this is predominantly, if it is happening anywhere in hinterland, it is happening in Chongqing area. That is how I can explain. Okay, I think that's my time is finished. Thank you everyone. One point by directors.
One which I wish to bring in.
Yes.
Some of your focus is more on provinces and how they are now opening up, untapping and so on. But another, that's important for businesses to know that is where we located. But there's another dimension of the way in which provinces are interacting with the regions across. The sub-regionalism that is appearing, which is going to change business, particularly in view of the fact that a lot of businesses are going to come out of it. So you have the south and east coast, which are going to link up with South Asia, Southeast Asia. You have the northeast provinces, which will link up with East Asia, the Korea, Japan. So you have the western, which are going to now get into Central Asia. So this whole phenomenon of sub-regionalism and the economic thing, so that I think should be
reflected somewhere. Yeah, I agree with that completely, ma'am. And also one point before I finish, China is betting on the western provinces than the coastal provinces to catch up with the slowing down. The western provinces' growth has not slowed down; it is stagnant. Wherein if you look at the north or the south coast, the growth rate is coming down. So there are lots of articles in China. The Chinese authors and the economists are saying that the western provinces are China's best bet in the next 2 decades.
That's bound to happen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The bases are
there available actually.
Have a very high growth or a small base.
That's right. Thank you.